Let's discuss all of this with our political panel. We have Caroline Sunshine, a former 2024 Trump campaign deputy communications director, former Trump White House aide. Also with us, Will Rollins, a former federal prosecutor, former House candidate for the Democrats. Welcome to you both. Will, let's start with you. You worked on national security issues for years as a prosecutor, especially after 9/11. What do you see as the sort of political impact of what's going on in terms of this missing service member?
Well, I hope to God that we find that service member as soon as possible. But it is a stark reminder that when you start a war without clear objectives and clear strategy, there are major consequences. And I think most of the country still does not have a clear understanding of what we are doing in Iran. And partially that's because the president every day comes out and says something different about what the ultimate result is going to be in this conflict. And when you still have 300, 400 kilograms of enriched uranium on the ground in Iran, you still have a regime in place that they gambled would change, but did not. You are going to cost more American lives, more treasure, without there ever having been any debate on this issue in the first place. And that is exactly why Congress is supposed to have the power to declare war in this country.
Well, members of the regime have changed, including many of the members that are now dead. But it seems like when you go from one supreme leader to his son, that's not exactly a dramatic change in the overall regime, although who knows where that son even is. Caroline, you've worked for years for President Trump. You support him on pretty much everything except for this. Why?
Because I think the president should go back to taking his own advice. He was very clear, no new wars. And this is just a case of, this isn't what I ordered. It's like being at a restaurant and you go, oh yeah, this isn't what I ordered. Like, sorry, I ordered no new wars, not no new wars except the war with Iran, not no new wars except the war that everybody in Washington, D.C. has wanted for 30 years. I ordered no new wars. I think this is Mark Levin's order. This is Lindsey Graham's order. Can you just take that back and give me mine? So I think the president should go back to taking his own advice. I mean, he's the one that brought this issue to the scene in 2016. And I know there's clips out there of people saying, well, look what the president said in 1985 about Iran. It's like, don't show me a clip from 1985 when I was there in 2016, 2018, 2024, where every day the president was saying, let's not get involved in these endless wars in the Middle East again. Let's not get involved. We have more to lose than to gain. And the way this is playing out with the $1.5 trillion he's now asking for to continue shows that this doesn't really look like it's going to be the quick military operation we were told.
What are you hearing from your friends in the White House for speaking out like this publicly?
It's a good question. I don't hear a lot. I wish they would maybe pick up the phone more. I think that there's an information ecosystem around the president right now that is designed to keep opinions like mine out or demonize supporters like me as disloyal and not relevant to hear from, and that needs to change. The president is not getting an information ecosystem around him right now that is giving him the full picture of where his base is at. I am the president's base, and the base is leaving. There was a poll on your network, you know, showing 100% of MAGA supports this war, but who's MAGA? Who's MAGA? Because what I'm hearing from everyone is I'm a 3-time Trump voter and I'm not MAGA anymore. I'm now non-MAGA. MAGA, the base is leaving because they don't agree with this conflict and they don't believe that this is what they voted for, and they're correct. And I think we need to listen a lot less to Mark Levin and start paying attention more to the people we engaged with on the 2024 campaign and what they're saying. Those audiences are still relevant. Joe Rogan has more influence over American minds and voters than Mark Levin. Mark Levin didn't help deliver the president his election. That electorate matters. The president built this generational coalition, and I don't think the White House ecosystem is giving him that information at all.
I mean, it's pretty interesting to hear what you just said right there in terms of the Republican base. I know you're hearing something similar.
Yeah, 100%. I have buddies who voted for him, and to be honest, it surprises me, and I find it ironic that the no new wars president has started a new war, and he's walked away from some of his biggest political advantages that he had when he won in 2024, like the economy. And when you propose a $1.5 trillion defense budget and you have your base starting to perceive you as part of the regular establishment in Washington, D.C., you take away that advantage of being the outsider candidate. And so I think Democrats are probably going to be able to capitalize in November on that.
Of course, there are Republicans that are supporting this, who say that Iran has been fighting America for years, fighting American allies for years through all these proxies, that other presidents have been too chicken to actually take them on, that it might be a little bit of damage right now, but long term, we're not going to be there for that long, and this is going to make all of us safer. And yes, there'll be a blip in terms of gas prices, but we'll forget about that 6 months, a year down the road if Iran is finally taken care of and not a threat to Israel and to us.
Yes, there are Republicans that say that, but their names are Lindsey Graham, and they're at Disney World while we have...
It's more than Lindsey Graham.
Is it, though?
Yeah.
Is it? Because we have, an F-15 that was just shot down today when we were told that we had achieved air dominance over Iran. So I'd love to know how that jet got shot down. We have 13 U.S. service members who are dead. We have over 200 wounded. And, where is Lindsey Graham? He's been a huge, like you said, cheerleader for this war, a huge proponent of it. Where is he? Is he over there with the 2,500 Marines that just arrived? Is he going over with the 5,000 that are on the way? Is he at the bedsides at Walter Reed? No, he's at Disney World.
Holding a bubble wand of Little Mermaid.
Looking sloppy, might I add. Not central casting.
Although then put out a photo of him with a shotgun to try to show how tough he is a couple days later. We talked about that with Harvey Levin earlier this week. So Will, in terms of tonight, though, I mean, this could be a real turning point in this war. And let's all hope and pray that they are able to get this service member out as quickly as possible. But if, God forbid, somebody is taken hostage by Iran, that is a game-changing moment for this entire conflict, right?
100%. I mean, this is a regime that knows how to use propaganda, that also has shown that it's smart when it comes to controlling the Strait of Hormuz at very low cost, that has potentially permanently disrupted the global oil markets. I mean, if you can do that with low-cost drones and drive up gas to $6 or $7 per gallon, and you have China and Russia also helping the Iranians disrupt those markets and put pressure on the president, I mean, this was a major miscalculation, also an intelligence failure too, because I think that the president gambled that the Iranian people would rise up if he toppled the Ayatollah. And as you pointed out earlier, instead they've gotten a more radical successor, and you still have enriched uranium on the ground when they told us that they had taken this out a year ago.
Well, we don't really know who the successor is because we've never seen him, but we'll see on that front. So what's your advice, your political advice to the president? This is the business that you've been in the past. You've given advice to this White House in the past. What would you say to him right now?
My advice would be to take his own advice. Start sounding like the guy that won the presidency because he was willing to say the obvious truth that all of us out here are feeling, but that I don't think is making it into his ecosystem, which is take your own advice.
I mean, get out now? Like just pull out now, say, declare victory and go home?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have, I mean, he's down 52 points with young people. Yeah. I don't know if he knows that. He won them overwhelmingly in 2024. He has built this generational coalition that is now completely decimated. And, what was interesting is after the B-2 bunker busters, that strike, 8 months ago, people were upset, but they recovered. They're not recovering. They are leaving, and they're not coming back. And there's this new silent majority that's forming.
It is interesting because this is not just a Republican problem, not just a Donald Trump problem, but when presidents get in the White House, sometimes they are in an echo chamber themselves, and their advisors sometimes keep away bad news. Certainly happened with Joe Biden when it came to his polling, and it's one of the reasons that he probably continued to run. And you wonder what information is getting through to Donald Trump at this point. Maybe he's watching tonight. If so, Mr. President, thanks for watching. Will Rollins, Caroline Sunshine, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.